Good morning. So, here's some thoughts about future writing directions. I thought, why am I not writing more prose? I've been writing prose poems, to be sure. Strangely enough, it's not something I do that often. But what about short stories? What about another novel? And if I were to do either short stories or a novel, what would I write about? Um, I can think of a few things. Now, it's a little bit burdo, as we say in Spanish, a little bit sort of crass. I guess that's the word, or blunt. But Sylvia Plath, towards the end of her life, was working on a novel called Double Exposure, or Double Take. And very broadly, it was about the breakdown of a marriage and discovering a husband's affair. And we all know where that came from. But the novel was never finished. And also, it's been lost. I mean, one day it may turn up, but I feel like maybe Ted Hughes destroyed it, along with other things as well. Now, I'm not summoning up Plath, because, albeit I do admire some things about Plath, it's not the way I write, but it's still very interesting to me how you write about relationships and fidelity, infidelity, those sorts of things. And so the broad arc might be when two people meet, right? What they see in each other, and that it's a relationship that has all sorts of obstacles, distance, immigration, then subsequently misplaced or displaced affect and longing. Then the doubleness. So that's what reminded me of Double Take. And the sort of structures of silence in a relationship. I'm very interested in the worlds we inhabit interpersonally, and especially the not said and the not seen, very broadly. But what does that do, and how does it configure a relationship distorted by all sorts of things? What is that sort of darkness around that? Especially when the putative couple first meets and they're drawn as if by some kind of magical thread to one another. In fact, the thread is prominent, the mystical thread, and yet that becomes very untethered, and desire itself becomes complicated by doubleness and infidelity. Yet the person being cheated on, who once desires anchor in the form of monogamy, themselves kind of is involved in a form of self-deception and obsession, actually, and continues in spite of it all, continues, sort of becomes part of that doubleness, the things we can never speak about, and the desire to narrate the relationship, which becomes a marriage, in ways that look like something happy, successful, fulfilled, intimate, even though intimacy bottoms right out. And it's really just all about not so much codependency, but a configuration almost like brothers, of the older one looking after the younger one, who increasingly plays into that dynamic. The differences between them, but also the cross-identification that was part of Desire's thread. And then out of all that, out of the sort of trauma and chaos, the re-emergence of the protagonist, who's then accused of not being honest about who they are. So that's kind of where things will teeter. How do I turn this into a novel? There's so much to flesh out when you commit to fiction. Um, I've got the psychic landscape. I've got some of the themes. I know how to personify, but will this be compelling reading? What would it be called? Dark matter? Suggestions?